Hello my lovely. So today I want to talk to you about cognitive distortions, which are basically the negative and irrational thought patterns that affect our self-esteem. They cloud our minds and they can significantly erode our self-esteem and hinder personal growth. These distorted thinking styles often lead to self-doubt, anxiety, and a pervasive sense of unworthiness. At their core, cognitive distortions are exaggerated or irrational thoughts that reinforce negative and limiting beliefs about ourselves and the world. And I'm doing this video because I want you to be more aware of the thoughts that you are thinking. If you recognize any of these in your own thought process, it's time to change that. So here are some examples that you need to be aware of. All or nothing thinking, also known as black and white thinking. This is a cognitive distortion where a person perceives situations or events in extreme all or nothing terms without acknowledging any middle ground or grey areas. An example of this would be a student that has always been a grade A achiever. She recently receives a B, and instead of recognizing that everyone can have an off day or that a single grade does not define her abilities or herself, she engages in all or nothing thinking and believes that because she got a B in her exam, that she's a complete failure and that she will never succeed at anything. In her mind, there are only two outcomes: being a perfect success or a total failure, ignoring the possibility that grades can fluctuate and don't reflect her overall intelligence or capabilities. In this example, her thinking is extreme and lacks the recognition of nuances of reality. All or nothing thinking can lead to feelings of disappointment, anxiety, and low self-esteem, as individuals tend to define their self-worth based on unrealistic and rigid standards. The next is overgeneralizations. This is another common cognitive distortion where an individual takes a specific negative event or situation and applies it to all areas of their life. This involves making broad and sweeping conclusions based on very limited evidence. An example of this would be, after breaking up with her partner, Emily feels incredibly heartbroken. She starts overgeneralizing, thinking she will never find love again, destined to be alone forever. In this example, Emily is taking the specific negative experience of her breakup and applying it to her entire future romantic life. She believes that because one relationship didn't work out, no future relationship will either. This overgeneralization leads to feelings of hopelessness and a diminished sense of self-worth. Overgeneralization can occur in various aspects of life, not just in relationships. For instance, someone who doesn't get a job that they applied for might overgeneralize by thinking they are completely unemployable and that they will never have a successful career. This kind of thinking overlooks the possibility of the other opportunities and can significantly impact self-esteem and confidence. It is really important to challenge overgeneralization by recognizing that one negative event doesn't predict the outcome of all future events. Each situation is unique, and it's crucial to approach them individually rather than applying a negative experience broadly across all aspects of life. Catastrophizing is a cognitive distortion where an individual magnifies the importance or implications of a situation, imagining the worst possible outcomes. It involves dwelling on the worst case scenario and believing that if something bad were to happen, it would be absolutely unbearable. An example of this would be, John is preparing for a job interview. Instead of feeling nervous, which is normal, he starts catastrophizing, thinking, what if I mess up in the interview? I'll definitely be rejected, I'll never get another job, and then he'll be homeless and end up alone. Based on a relatively common situation, which is a job interview that hasn't even happened yet. Catastrophizing can lead to intense anxiety, self-doubt, and a heightened sense of fear. Individuals prone to catastrophizing often imagine the most dire consequences of any situation, even if the likelihood of those outcomes is very low. This cognitive distortion can significantly impact a person's emotional well-being and decision-making abilities, as they might avoid situations altogether due to their exaggerated fears of what might happen. To counter catastrophizing, it's essential to challenge these irrational thoughts by considering more realistic and balanced outcomes. This can be done by asking questions like, what's the evidence that this worst-case scenario will actually happen? Or, have I faced challenging situations before, and how did I cope? By addressing these questions, individuals can gain perspective and reduce the anxiety associated with catastrophizing thoughts. Another is personalization. This is a cognitive distortion where an individual tends to take responsibility for events or situations that are beyond their control. People engaging in personalization believe that they are the cause of external events, particularly negative ones, without even considering other factors or people involved. This can lead to feelings of guilt, self-blame, and a distorted perception of one's influence in the world. An example of that is Lisa's friends cancels their plans to meet for coffee. Lisa immediately starts personalizing the situation, thinking it must be because she's boring. She doesn't want to spend time with her because she's not interesting enough. In reality, Lisa's friend might have cancelled due to her own busy schedule, health issues, or a number of reasons unrelated to Lisa. However, Lisa automatically assumes that her friend's actions are a direct reflection of her own inadequacy, leading to unnecessary self-blame and reduced self-esteem. Personalization can significantly impact relationships, leading individuals to withdraw or become overly self-conscious due to the belief that they are the cause of others' negative behaviors. To counter personalization, it's important to consider alternative explanations for events and recognize that people's actions and decisions are often influenced by various factors, and more often than not, people don't give an F about you, they're too in their own heads. Developing self-awareness and self-compassion can also be very helpful as individuals learn to differentiate between their actions and the actions of others, leading to a healthier and more balanced perspective on interpersonal interactions. And the last one I'm dealing with is negative cognitive bias, also known as pessimism bias. This refers to the tendency for individuals to perceive and anticipate negative events as more likely or more influential than positive ones. People with a pessimism bias tend to focus on the potential downsides of a situation and underestimate their ability to cope with challenges. This bias can lead to a general negative outlook on life and increased feelings of anxiety and hopelessness. An example of this would be Emily is invited to a social gathering with her colleagues. Instead of looking forward to the event and anticipating a pleasant time, she succumbs to negative cognitive bias or pessimism bias. She thinks she'll probably say something stupid and embarrass herself. Nobody will want to talk to her, and she'll end up feeling lonely and miserable the whole time. In this case, Emily is anticipating a negative outcome without considering the possibility of positive interactions or enjoyable experiences at the gathering. Pessimism bias can influence various aspects of life, such as relationships, work, and decision-making. Those affected by this bias might avoid new opportunities or challenges due to their belief that the outcomes will inevitably be negative. To counter this bias, individuals can practice cognitive restructuring techniques such as challenging negative thoughts and reframing them in a more balanced and positive light. So those are a few examples and a few tips on how you can counter cognitive distortions and begin rebuilding your self-esteem. Awareness is key. Becoming aware of these distorted thinking patterns is a metacognitive process. Metacognition refers to the ability to think about your own thinking process. It involves being aware of and understanding one's thoughts, feelings, and cognitive patterns, including biases and distortions. It's the ability to step back from your thoughts, observe them objectively, and recognize when your thinking is biased or irrational. By practicing metacognition, individuals can identify and challenge cognitive distortions, leading to more rational and balanced thinking patterns. Developing metacognitive skills can be a valuable tool in improving mental well-being and decision-making abilities. As I mentioned also earlier, challenge negative thoughts. Actively question the validity of your negative beliefs. Ask yourself if there's real evidence supporting these thoughts or if you're jumping to conclusions. Engage in mindfulness techniques such as meditation and deep breathing. These practices can help you to stay present, reducing the power of irrational thoughts. Positive affirmations can counter negativity. This can help you to remind yourself of your strengths and your achievements, no matter how small they may seem. I have loads of videos with positive affirmations on my page if you need to go and check them out. Challenge perfectionism. Embrace the idea that nobody is perfect. Set realistic expectations for yourself and understand that making mistakes is a natural part of life. If you are not failing, you are not trying. By understanding cognitive distortions and actively working to challenge them, you can break free from their grip and rebuild your self-esteem. Remember, self-compassion and patience are vital throughout this journey to self-discovery and confidence. And remember, you are powerful beyond measure. Keep showing up for yourself and I'll be here to cheer you on. Remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.